Hello, I'm Zoe and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to the shit show. Today I'm going to be doing my August wrap up and I've got to say, this has been my best reading month ever. At least since I've started BookTube. I know I read more than this when I was a teenager and a young kid, but as an adult with children of my own, I'm amazed that I read this much. My glasses are so dirty. Let's ignore that. The reason that I read this much in August, I almost said October, which is the next month. Not this one. I'm doing great already. I have child fingerprints all over my glasses, and this is just garbage. And I don't feel like going to find my scrub-a-dub. Anyways, I'm just going to deal with this. So in August, I was one of the co-hosts for the amazing readathon. A readathon started by Bree from Four Paws in a Book. I'll leave the announcement video linked down below. It was a month-long readathon, so obviously it's over now that it's September. But as far as I know, it's looking like the readathon will be coming back next month. Not next month, next year. What am I doing? It'll be coming back next year, so if you want to go and watch the announcement video and just kind of get a feel for it, just to get excited for next year, go ahead and do that. It was a readathon themed after The Amazing Race. So there was prompts dropping every 3-ish days, which kept you on your toes and actually kept you reading, or at least me, to the point where I read, my count might be off, so we'll see at the end of this, but I'm pretty sure I read 45 books. I thought I had read 42, but then I realized that I didn't add the last few books to my tally that I was keeping on my calendar. So I'm pretty sure I read 45 books in 31 days. And there are some big books in here too. It's not all really small ones, so I'm shocked that I was actually able to read that much.
I just want to say thank you so much, not only to God, but to Jesus.
I would like to say a huge shout out to audiobooks for existing, because that is the only way. Why is this chair so creaky? Oh my god. That is the only way I got through this many books. So I'm not even going to go in any sort of order. I don't fully remember which order I read them in. I kind of do, and I really don't feel like going back and looking through the prompts right now to see the order. So this is just going to be willy-nilly. I also started 3 other books. Started 2 other books, continued one that I had started in July that I am still reading in September. I didn't get all the way through them, so I didn't count them for August. I didn't even get like halfway through. So I ended up finishing those this month in September. But I'll talk about those ones too, because I started them, so they deserve a little bit of love. Before I get started, there's a lot of books to talk about here, so I'm not going to be going in depth with what I thought about each one and what each one is about. So I'm just going to give you the name, the title. That's not how words work. The title, the name of the author, briefly what it's about, and like my general thoughts. Some of these I have reviews on Goodreads, others I will possibly one day put good reviews on Goodreads, but I don't actually know if that's going to happen. From the top, make it drop. This is a family channel. I will not be saying the next lyrics.
Why the fuck you lying?
That's a wet ass pussy. First up is I See London, I See France by Sarah Malinowski. This one follows 2 best friends who go on a backpacking trip through Europe. The main character's best friend was supposed to go on this trip with main character, but then things happen, she backs out, so she was gonna go with her boyfriend, but then she finds out that her boyfriend was cheating on her, so main character ends up going on the trip she was supposed to go on in the first place, and chaos ensues when cheating ex-boyfriend shows up with super hot best friend. What's a girl to do? I freaking love this book. Both of like the 2 main best friends make some very, very poor choices, but I thought it was like a pretty realistic portrayal of how shitty teenage best friends can be to each other sometimes. It happens. It's not to say that it's a good thing, but it does happen. I really like the writing. I really thought the whole thing was cute. And also, it's got a map. And it's a map of Europe, but it shows all the places that they went to. And I typically don't see maps in contemporary books, so I was super, super happy about that. Also, I reread this. That just fell in Draco's water. I am so sorry, you precious, precious bean. Just the corner, I think. We're good. This was a reread for me, and I liked it just as much the second time around as I did the first time. And then I reread an absolute fucking classic. Avalon High by Meg Cabot, one of the shiniest books known to man. This is a King Arthur retelling that follows Ellie. Her parents are on sabbatical, and she goes to this new high school called Avalon High, where she meets a guy named Will, his girlfriend named Jennifer, his best friend named Lance. But not everyone is who they appear to be at Avalon High, including, as we find out, Ellie herself. And shenanigans ensue, but it's a King Arthur retelling. Super cheesy. The audiobook was so quick. This is actually probably the 4th or 5th time that I've read this book, and I've got to say, my opinion on Ellie has kind of stayed the same the whole way through. She's very much an early 2000s young adult character. When was this book written? 2004? 2006. Yeah. I'm not like other girls. I'm the funny one. You'll never get a boyfriend if you're funny. I'm not pretty like all the other girls. Yada, yada, yada. Ellie, shut the fuck up, okay? Jesus. And then I reread Simmer Down by Sarah Smith. This one follows a food truck owner. What's her name? Nikki. She ends up getting into this feud with a rival food truck owner. Callum is his name. And enemies to lovers with food trucks. And the same bottle of sriracha that I always get on the front. This one, I fucking loved it. Loved it the first time I read it. Loved it the second time I read it. It's fantastic. It made me very, very hungry while I was reading it. So, reader beware. Next up is a bind-up of, what the fuck are these books called? The Vinci Code and the Lost Symbol by Dan Brown with gold edges. The reason that I ended up reading this was because the purple team came in last on one leg, and you had like an extra challenge if you came in last, and you had a bonus if you came in first, like a bonus reward type thing. And one of our challenges was to read a book that was at least 100 pages longer than the last book that you read. And unfortunately, spoiler alert for the next book here, the last book that I had read before this one was Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. That's what we would call a hefter. That is a hefty hefterton. 782 pages. So I was looking around trying to find a book that fit the fucking prompt that was longer than 782 pages. And this was the only book that I had that I could find. Technically, it's 2 books in one. But it's like a bind-up, omnibus, whatever the fuck words are. It's late at night. I don't know what words are. Like, this was literally the only one that I had. So I'm like, oh my god, I just hit a canker sore. It hurts. Carter headbutted me in the mouth and I have a canker sore now because of it, and I just clipped it with my tooth. I'm out of commission. I'm done. That's just too much for me. So I listened to the audiobooks for both the Da Vinci Code and the Lost Symbol. Both were rereads for me. The Da Vinci Code, I think, was like my 5th or 6th reread. The Lost Symbol was the first time that I've reread it. I know people hate on Dan Brown and his books, but honestly, they're so fucking entertaining. I don't care if they're not the best research things out there, or if they're just too fanciful or whatever. They're very entertaining, and that's what I read for, to be entertained. So both of these follow Robert Langdon. The Da Vinci Code, he's in Paris. He finds the curator of a museum dead. There's a whole bunch of clues in Da Vinci's work that lead to who killed this curator. And Robert Langdon has to figure out who the killer is, why they did this, and how to stop them. And then the Lost Symbol, Robert Langdon is called to Washington, D.C. I believe there's a fly, and that really distracted me. I think about a year after the events of the Da Vinci Code, one of his good friends calls him to say, hey, can you be a last-minute keynote speaker at this function that we're having? And he's like, sure. Got on a plane, got to D.C., only to find out that there was no event, and there's a very, very creepy hand in the middle of this one building. I don't remember what the fucking building is. And he's like, holy shit, that's my friend's hand. I can tell by his ring that he's wearing. Chaos ensues. Robert has to find out who has his friend, what is going on, what is the purpose of stealing somebody's friend and cutting their hand off and putting it in the middle of a building. It's just uncalled for. Ooh, that's another hefter. Then I have Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. I said the name Robert too many times and I wanted to say Robert Strange, which is awful because the entire time I was reading it, I kept going Stephen Strange. That's not the guy we're going for. Not the kind of magic we're going for here. I was very conflicted about this one. It's set in the late 1900s. Early 1800s. What the hell am I saying? 1806 is when the book starts. Follows Mr. Norrell, who has brought back the return of magic to England. And then he is told that he's got to help the government in the war against Napoleon. So he goes to London where he meets Jonathan Strange. Together they dazzle the country with their feats, but then their partnership turns into a rivalry. Jonathan Strange is attracted to the wildest, most perilous magic, while Mr. Norrell is very, very secretive about everything. And then Strange becomes fascinated by the Raven King, and his heedless pursuit of long-forgotten magic threatens not only his partnership with Norrell, but everything he holds dear. So this thing with this book is, there was a period for about 2 weeks where everybody that I was seeing was recommending this book. Like, I could not escape seeing this book. So the next time I was out at a used bookstore, I saw it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick it up. Everyone's saying it's the best book ever. Let's just give it a go. And then it sat on my shelves for months and months and months. So I decided that I was going to use it for a prompt here, and I found the audiobook at one of my libraries. I'm going to listen to the audiobook. It's going to go by super speedy quick because I listened to it at 3.5 times the speed. But then the narrator sucked ass. I don't know how to put it more eloquently than that. Apparently, the narrator has won a ton of awards for audiobook narration. But I found that every single voice sounded the exact same. It didn't matter if it was a child, a grown man, a grown woman. I don't give a shit who he was talking, who he was voicing. They all sounded the same. I was so lost and so bored. But then I sat down to eat and I picked up the physical copy and I started reading it. I'm like, oh my god, this is actually a really good book. I really am enjoying this. Only to go back to the audiobook because I had to, because I was washing dishes. And I hated it again. Like, I was so fucking bored the whole goddamn time. I'm like, I don't see the appeal. And then I picked up the physical book again several hours later while I was eating dinner. Or was it a snack or something? I don't know. I was eating again. And I loved it. So I'm very, very conflicted. I'm going to try this book again one day when I have more time to just take my time with the physical book. Like, I really do want to give it an honest shot. But that narrator was not it. I'm going to do these together. Why are these out of order? Oh, because I couldn't read them in order because of prompts. That's right. That's right. First, we'll do these ones because I have both of them here. I read the 2 books in the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas, House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath. I know a lot of people don't love these as much as the other Sarah J. Maas books, but I'm a fucking hoe for them, okay? I've seen a lot of people say that this one is not as good as this one. I think I might have kind of liked this one a little bit better. And the ending. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending. Both of these were rereads. And once again, this one I was screaming, crying, throwing up in the club on a Tuesday. I can't handle myself when I read these books. Yes, I am a basic bitch. Yes. Sure, I've got no taste. If these books are trash, then so am I. So we're gonna just talk about what this one's about. I don't want to spoil anything for House of Sky and Breath. This one follows a girl named Bryce whose best friend Danica dies a horrible, horrible death, and then Bryce just decides to go through the motions after that. Oh my god. And then one day, the person who is accused of murdering Bryce's best friend is locked up behind bars, and the same kind of murders happen again. And Bryce is like, what the fuck? You're locked up. How? So she has to work with Hunt, one of the angels, a fallen angel, now enslaved to the archangels he once attempted to overthrow. He said, no more, no more. But he's been given a great deal. If he helps Bryce find the murderers, he will basically be almost free. So he's like, deal. How can I pass that up? I literally cannot pass that up. And then what happens? I don't remember. Yes, they dig deep into Crescent City's underbelly, discover a dark power that threatens everything and everyone they hold dear, and they find in each other a blazing passion. One that could set them both free, if only they'd let it. I fucking love these books so much. So much. And then I read the first 2 books in another series. Legendborn and Bloodmarked. Legendborn. Did I say Legendborn? I think I did. Another King Arthur retelling. These books, also, so fucking good. What can I say about this one without giving it away? Bree's mom dies in an accident, and she wants nothing to do with being at home, so she goes to a program for really smart high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill. Letters are also difficult for me right now. But when she gets there on her very first night, she witnesses a magical attack, and she's thrown into the world of a secret society of so-called Legendborn students, which turns out to be this whole big King Arthur thing. If you like King Arthur, if you like cool magic, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm doing so good. I am a professional. And then I read 8 million books in one world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna do it this way. And you know what? These are all gonna be out of order because I just cannot even. I'm doing so good. I read most of the the entire first series and most of the second series in the Parasol verse by Gail Carriger. These ones are the Parasol Protectorate series. They are the adult series, and one is just gone. So first up is Soulless. There we go. And then Changeless and Blameless. And then this is not organized. Heartless and Timeless. Yeah, these ones are an adult series. They were the first ones in the Parasolverse to come out. I think these are set in like the 1860s. They follow Alexia, who just wants to be a normal spinster of 25 years old and live her best life. However, she is afflicted by being soulless. She literally has no soul. And in a world where you can become a vampire or a werewolf or a ghost after you die, by having excess soul, she knows that there is just nothing left for her after the end of her life, in the afterlife, if you will. So she accidentally kills a vampire because when she, as a soulless person, touches a supernatural person, they become mortal once again. And she accidentally kills a vampire after she's touched him. Out of all people who could have come to investigate Alexia killing this vampire, it's Lord Macon, the alpha to the local werewolf pack, who she finds super, super hot and very, very aggravating, which is a recipe for pants off, you know? And then some shady shit starts happening and everybody's pointing fingers at Alexia because she's the most likely candidate for being behind what's going on, and she has to figure out what's actually happening before they come for her. Steampunk, historical fiction, supernatural romance. I wouldn't say enemies to lovers, but they definitely fucking annoy the shit out of each other to lovers. With werewolves and vampires and ghosts. Oh my. And then I read the first 3 books in the Finishing School series. Etiquette and Espionage, Curtsies and Conspiracies, and Waistcoats and Weaponry. That word is usually so hard for me to say, but I crushed it. I'm so proud of myself. This is a sequel comes after. This is a prequel series set in the 1840s, I want to say? 1850s. Oh, so this Soulless is set in the 1870s then, because I'm pretty sure it's about 20 years after. Yeah, 1850s, 1870s, and then I'm pretty sure the third series that I did not get to this month is set in the 1890s. But I digress. This one follows some characters that you'll see in the Soulless series. I'm not going to say who, I don't want to give it away, but it follows a group of young ladies at a finishing school, but they don't learn the typical type of finishing. They learn finishing someone else, as in murder, and espionage, and intelligencers. What? I don't even know what the fuck I was just trying to say. Anyways, they are at a school for intelligencers and assassins and spies, and it's so fucking cool because they're learning how to be a proper lady while also learning how to discreetly stab a bitch. I've definitely mentioned this multiple times on my channel before, but the Parasolvers is one of my favorite groups of series. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world. I abso-fucking-lutely love it, and I got so many people to read those books during this readathon. My life goal is complete as like a reader and a booktuber and all of that. Also, I read Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore, another historical romance. This follows Annabelle, who ends up as one of the first female students at Oxford. She's there on scholarship. And part of her scholarship dictates that she must join the women's suffrage movement. She somehow finds her way into having to try to recruit the Duke of Montgomery, who is one of the biggest naysayers for all of women's suffrage. Again, wouldn't really say enemies to lovers, but they get off on the wrong foot. Totally forgot to mention it, but this one, if this is your thing, is a comedy of manners. Like, fantastic. And then we had this lovely face-off weekend where we tried to read as many books as possible in 24 hours times 2. 48 hours to try and get as many points for your team as possible for extra of the currency that we use to get around the entire world. And I read 19, those are upside down, Junie B. Jones books in 48 hours. Now, I read these in 24 hours, and then I did not read anything else for Face-Off Weekend because I was so burnt out. I am not even going to go through all of these names because there's 19 of them, and they are all far too many words long. But it's not the entire series. I don't own the entire series. I pick them up as I go when I see them at used bookstores. These follow Junie B. Jones, a precocious kindergartner in some of them, and then a first grader in others, and just the daily shenanigans that she gets up to. I absolutely loved these books as a kid. This was one of my favorite series. It definitely helped get me into reading. Junie B is, how to put this delicately, a bit of a fucking shithead. A little bit more so than kindergartners typically are. And I mean, I say this as somebody with 2 toddlers right now. They're fucking shitheads a lot of the time. It's just who they are at that age, you know? Sometimes they grow out of it. Sometimes people just don't end up growing out of that. Junie B can kind of get on everyone's nerves a lot. But like I find her super cute. I like how by the end of each book, she kind of figures out where she went wrong and learns the lesson that's supposed to be given here. Junie B has been banned several times, I think. I know for sure in the States, she was banned 10 years ago? Maybe around then? I don't even know. Because she's a bad kid. And she talks back to her parents and her teachers, and people don't want children learning about that. Fully missing the point that by the end of the books, she realizes what she's done wrong. So, you know, there's no redemption arc for kids to see. You're really bad, and that's it. Something secretive after. I don't know. Really though, again, as a mom to toddlers, and as a mom to toddlers that like to get in everything, and they're very, very curious little boys. A huge problem in the series are the adults around her. I'm pretty sure it happens in every single book. At least her teacher or one of her parents, sometimes multiple people in one book, look at Junie B after she's asked a ridiculous question, or her classmates or something, and they sit down and take an aspirin. It might just be a me thing, but I don't think that's a great attitude for teachers of young kids to have. And yes, these were written mostly in like the 90s and early 2000s, and things were a little bit different then. But if you have to take an aspirin every time a child asks you a question, I think you should be in a different line of work. And to her parents doing this, just putting their head down or walking away because she's just too much or whatever. Why the fuck did you have a second child then? That's what I want to know. That's all I want to know. I don't like it when people hate on Junie B because she's a product of her environment. She's 5, 6, I think up to like 7 years old in the later books. This is on the adults around her. Anyways, I could go on for a very long time, and I really should not because my battery's going to die and my memory card is going to be full, and I don't feel like doing anything about it after. So, next up is The Neighbor Favorite by Christina Forrest. This follows a girl who wants to be a children's book editor, but she is stuck in the nonfiction division without a promotion in sight. And on the family end, everyone in her family is all about Black excellence. We need to be the best. And she's just like, can I exist? I don't want to have to be excellent all the time. So she finds an escape in corresponding with her favorite author via emails. It's going great. They're having a great time until one day he ghosts her without a word. Several months later, she's still really, really feeling it, and she decides that she's going to get her life back on track, starting with finding a date to her sister's wedding. Enter the super hot neighbor. She feels really drawn to him for some reason. She can't figure it out. She has no idea why. Little does she know, it's because the neighbor is the author who ghosted her, that she started having some kind of feelings for. So, chaos ensues. It's super cute. I really liked it. Actually, the reason I picked it up was, one, I love the cover, and two, it's very purple, so it was extra points for my team. Then, we have The Darkness Outside Us by Elliot Schreffer. This one, oh my god, I really shouldn't have looked at this book because I finally stopped thinking about it, and it was really fucking with my head. So good. I put off reading this book for so long because I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi, and I am pissed off at myself. So this follows two boys who wake up on a spaceship with no memory of takeoff. They both remember everything leading up to takeoff, but nothing from when it actually happened until right then. Not only that, but things around the ship are just not adding up. There's evidence that there are strangers somewhere on the ship, which is impossible because it's just the two of them way out in space. Right? Right. The ship's operating system is voiced by one of the dudes, Ambrose's mom, and the hot, brooding shipmate has barricaded himself away, so Ambrose is like, guess I better figure out what the fuck's going on all by myself. However, despite all of that, nothing will stop him from making this mission succeed, because his mission is to rescue his sister. But in order to survive the ship's secrets and all the weird shit that's happening, these two need to work together. Especially once they find out exactly what's going on. This book fucked me up. But like in a good way. It just very uncomfortable in a sense, but also like really, really made me just sit and think about a lot of things. Memory card is full. And we're fine. I managed to figure it out in like 30 seconds, so we're good. I forget what I was saying. Let's move on to the next book, which is Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. I was very, very interested in this when I started reading the description. By the end of it, I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I'm actually going to like this. And then I read the book, and I fucking loved it. I have the sequel. I really should read that this month. We'll see if I can get to it. Blown away. So this follows Vanya, who's the goddaughter of Death and Fortune, which was a really great start to the synopsis, and I was fucking hooked right there. And she's also Princess Giselle's dutiful servant. At least she was until a year ago, at which point her godmothers decided that they were gonna demand a huge price for their otherworldly care, and Vanya was like, fuck, I don't know how to get out of this. So here's a great idea. Why don't I steal Princess Giselle's face using magic, and then I can take her place and I have a little bit more time to think about what I'm gonna do. So the real Giselle is living life as a penniless nobody, and Vanya is living a double life where on one hand she's pretending to be Giselle and doing everything that a princess would, but on the other hand she's also stealing from every single one of the nobles and leading a secret life as a criminal. A very famous criminal. Seems like it's all going pretty well. She's almost amassed enough money to do whatever it is that she's gonna do. But then on her final heist, she crosses the wrong god and everything falls apart. This god is real upset with her. So Vanya's cursed to turn into a jewel, stone by stone, for being so greedy. She's got 2 weeks to figure it out, or she will become like a stone.
Like a stone.
So I was reading the synopsis and I was like, you know what, this sounds so fucking good. But at the very end, it kicked me in the face. It fucking knocked me down. It's a retelling of The Goose Girl. Let me fucking tell you. I was not blown away by The Goose Girl. It was highly, 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 highly recommended to me by one of by one of my best friends at the time. I read it and I was underwhelmed, possibly because the hype was just too much. So I was very worried that I was not going to like it because it was a retelling of something that I didn't love in the first place. Blown away. I loved it. I listened to the audiobook for that too. So good. Highly recommend. And then I have 3 of the 4 books in the Charlotte Holmes series. A Study in Charlotte, The Last of August, and also The Case for Jamie. First time reading The Case for Jamie. Second time for The Last of August, and I think the third time I read A Study in Charlotte. This is a Sherlock Holmes retelling that follow Holmes and Watson's great grandchildren? Maybe one less great. I always forget. In modern day. And in the first one, somebody dies, they are murdered, and it's made to look like one of Sherlock Holmes' tales, adventures, books, whatever you want to call it. I cannot speak at this point. So everyone is like, their descendants are living at this school. Maybe it was them. Are they being framed? They're absolutely being framed. I don't have the 4th book. I really need to rectify that so I can finish the series because I fucking love it. And then the last book I have here that I fully finished was The Shadow Sister by Lily Mead. This has been consistently on my TBR since May, because I got an ARC and then it came out in June, I think, and I finally got around to it in August. This was so good. It follows a girl named Casey. Yeah, I almost said Callie and then I tried to say Cassie, but it's Casey. Her sister is missing and Casey is super, super pissed about it because everyone's spinning this narrative that Sutton, her sister, is this perfect little angel so people will care and look for her. But Casey's like, that's so fucking bullshit. She was the spawn of the devil. But then Sutton reappears and everybody's like, great, she's back. She's just got a little memory loss from whatever she went through, but it's fine. But Casey's like, no, you're fucked. This is not my sister. She is very, very different. She doesn't remember anything about before she went missing. She doesn't remember how shitty she was to me, and she doesn't remember any of it. It's not her. There's something wrong here. And then she starts hearing about other girls going missing, and she's like, is this tied together? What's going on? Why is nobody talking about these other girls going missing? Like, why did I have to find this through the weirdest channels? What the fuck is going on with my sister? And let me tell you, it did not go the way I expected. Like, when I started it, I kind of figured out, like, through it, I was on the right track, but going into it, it did not go the way I expected. And then there's just the 3 books that I started. One that I had started in July. The first, Princess Diaries, because it fit a prompt, and then the next prompt dropped when I was, like, half an hour into the audiobook. This follows Mia, who just wants to be a normal 14-year-old girl until she finds out that because her dad doesn't have the ability to have any more kids, she is next in line for the throne of Genovia. She did not know that her dad was the prince of a whole fucking country. What a way to find out. So sorry, you're not going to have any siblings, so it's on you. Great. Movies, much better than the books. I like the books, but the movies are top tier. And then we have Meet Me in London by Georgia Toffolo. Yes, I was reading a Christmas romance in August. What about it? This one follows a girl who has always had a dream of opening up a fashion boutique design store. Clothes. Words are so hard. Oh my god. Things are kind of going well, but then her dreams are crushed when she finds her boyfriend in bed with another. They're cut off. I don't even know if I said it, but he was in bed with another woman. So her dreams kind of go kaput. But then she meets Oliver Russell, the heir apparent to the Russell family company, the family fortune, the family name. They decide that they're going to enter into a fake dating arrangement that kind of turns into a fake fiance thing, like, right away. The deal is that he will have her designs shown at the grand opening of this new store, part of a billion-dollar company. He's going to feature her designs on the runway show that they do if she pretends to be his fiance so he can get his family off of his back. His dad's really not doing well, and his parents just want to see him settled down. So he's like, I'm gonna make whatever time my dad has left. Super easy for him, super chill. I don't want to stress him out, so I'm gonna pretend to be engaged. So cute. I gotta say though, that's my second time reading it. The first time I just read the physical copy and like a little bit of the audiobook. This time around, I listened to the audiobook for almost the entire thing, and it's narrated by the author, who's a UK celebrity. I don't even 100% know. I think she was on like a celebrity reality show competition. I think, I don't know. I have absolutely no clue. Like, I love her voice when she's just narrating, but everything just kind of seems like there's no feeling behind it in the weirdest way. Like, if you've listened to the audiobook, let me know. Am I just completely losing it? Because, like, it just seemed very robotic. Robotic. I need to go to bed. And then the last one I have is Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. Started this in July. I think I read about 100 pages of it in August, and I'm determined to finish it in September because it sounds so good. But I've recently learned that Audible exclusive audiobooks, libraries can't get them, or anything, like schools can't get them. So I think that's really, really shit. So I'm trying not to support any like Audible exclusive audiobooks. And this one, unfortunately, is an Audible exclusive. I'm slogging through the physical copy whenever I get a chance to read, which is not that often right now. It is what it is. So this one follows Arcady, who lives in a world where gods are revered. No, dragons are revered as gods. Like, they basically are their gods. However, a long time ago, the humans betrayed the dragons, stealing their magic and banishing them to a different world. So here we are in present day. Arcady steals a relic from the Plaguebringer's tomb, the most hated person in the entire world. When she was doing this, the spell that she used called Everin, a dragon, from this other world and pulled him back into the main world. As if that didn't suck enough for Everin, he was pulled through and he is now in his human form, or human-ish form that dragons can shift into. He's really trying to get back home. And then he finds out that the only way that that can happen is if he fully binds his magic and himself to Arcady and then kills her. The only problem is, the closer they become, the more they risk both of the worlds just completely shattering. It's really good so far. I really, really like it. I just don't have a lot of time to sit down and read. And that's it. We're done. I did it. That was one of my best reading months of all time. Definitely my best reading month since I've started BookTube. I did it with 3 small children. Again, audiobooks. The only reason I read that much. Let me know down below if you participated in the amazing readathon. Either way, if you did, if you didn't, how was your reading month? What was your favorite book? I don't know if I have a favorite book. I literally can't pick one. Are you like me? Is it just too overwhelming? Or do you have an absolute favorite? I'm very curious. Let me know. This creaky ass chair is killing me. Or if that's just too much or you don't have a lot of time, drop some hearts down below in the comments, preferably purple ones because that's my favorite color. As always, to stay updated with my current reads and how I'm feeling about them, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, Storygraph, and TikTok. Yes, those are all of them. All at Zoe's All Booked, which I will leave linked down below in the description box. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share the video so everyone else can join in on the madness, the chaos, the shit show. With that, I hope you all have a wonderful day and get at least a little bit of uninterrupted reading time. I love you awesome nerds, and I will see you in the next one.